Heavyweight single sculls saw Chris Carson, the defending champion for America, retain her title.
There are several rowing styles among successful boats from different countries, but the basic principles are the same for all of them. First, the boats are propelled by the rower's weight suspended on the blade, which is locked in the water. Second, all groups of muscles work in a logical, sequential harmony, overlapping each other, creating a fluid, rhythmic motion in the boat. Let us see some examples of what we call hanging on the oar handle. Here's a simple demonstration of hanging on the oar handle. In both the rope and dock machine, the rower can lift himself, exaggerating the hang between the oar handle and the foot stretcher. This suspension dictates only one possible natural sequence of work. First the legs, followed by the upper body, and then the arms, all overlapping each other. It is also easy to find the feeling when the boat is slow. All problems arise as the boat increases in speed. The Italian gold medal quad is a good example of a natural rowing style. We start our analysis from the last part of the recovery. We notice the seat is halfway up, the body is leaning forward, and the arms are stretched. The athlete is prepared for the catch. There is not going to be any additional motion of reaching out, only continuation of the slide forward. The rower arrived to the catch position with good compression. This means the shins are almost vertical, very natural, slightly curved, and relaxed body position. The arms are stretched. He is ready to lift his hands, and only the hands to put the blade into the water. At the start of the next phase, the blades are already in the water. The muscles of the back, shoulders, and arms provide a firm connection and transition from the leg drive to the blades. This way, the body weight is suspended, the whole frame moves horizontally towards the bow. The only change occurs in the knee angle, which is not as sharp as during the catch. At the beginning of this phase, the blades come perpendicular to the boat, the most mechanically efficient part of the stroke. The upper body is suspended in a vertical position, arms are straight. There is some knee angle left, about 120 degrees. As the rower continues his last part of the leg drive, the upper body starts to swing. This overlapping work of the legs and upper body guarantees good connection and steady pressure on the blade. During the last part of the stroke, the knees are completely down and the upper body is in a tall position at maximum layback. With good support against the foot stretchers, the hands are drawing the last inches of the drive. During the release of the blade from the water, the upper body remains in a tall, relaxed position with the chest behind the oar handle. The elbows go to the side through the body, with the hands finishing in front of the body without passing to the side. Body motion out of bow should be a very patient and quiet, not to disturb the run of the boat. The hands start first. Stretched out hands will pull the upper body forward and then followed by the slide. The Swedish sculler Fredrik Holten demonstrates the same natural rowing style. In the middle of the recovery, the seat is halfway up, the body angle forward is already established, the arms are straight. At the catch, the sculler arrived at the top of the slide, good compression, shins are almost vertical, relaxed tall position, arms are straight, good high rigging. After the catch, the knees went down a little, not too much body motion, arms are straight, there's good connection, and very good hanging position. In the middle of the drive, There's some knee angle left. Body is in a vertical position. Arms are still straight. Continuation of good hanging. At the release, notice the high body position, chest behind the oar handle, forearms level. At the beginning of the recovery, the arms are stretched out away from the body, then the body will start to swing forward out of bow, pulling the slide behind, and the whole cycle starts again. Here we have an example of Chris Carlson's rowing technique. At the catch position, the shins are vertical, high comfortable reach of the upper body, arms are straight. In the middle of the drive, the seat is halfway down, upper body still before the vertical, arms are straight. A moment later, the body is in a vertical position, there is some leg drive left, the arms are straight, perfect hanging. At the release, natural layback, hands in front of the body, the chin dropped down a little. Here we have the lightweight men's gold medalist Frans Gobel from Holland. At the catch, the shins are vertical, comfortable reach of the upper body, straight arms. In the middle of the drive, with not too much knee angle left, the upper body just approaches the vertical position, arms are straight, perfect hanging, very efficient position. At the release, his tall body stays in a layback position. American gold medalist C.B. Sands is another example of natural rowing style. Perfect catch position, the shins are vertical, natural upper body reach, straight arms. During the first part of the drive, only the knees went down. All other groups of muscles remain in the same position, providing good connection, good suspension of the body on the oar handle. By the middle of the drive, the legs are almost finished. With good support against the foot stretcher, the upper body passes vertical. At the release, the knees are completely down, the upper body is in natural layback position, the hands arrive to the body side, the forearm is level. The blade work is a part of the rowing skill which has a direct impact on the speed of the boat. Good blade work is characterized by smooth, horizontal motion of the blade during the recovery. Beginning a gradual squaring with the hands over the ankles, a clean entry into the water at maximum reach, deep, horizontal, and steady drive in the water, clean, decisive release from the water as a result of the final send of the boat. Czechoslovakian sculler Václav Halupa demonstrates almost perfect blade work. Notice good lock of the blade in the water. There's no disturbance of the water, an invisible puddle, clean and powerful push of the blade away from the water at the release. The sculling grip of the oars should be very relaxed, with only the fingers hooked around the oar handle. The thumb is on the end of the oar handle. During the drive, the wrists are flat and the palms do not touch the oar handle. There's a small motion of the wrist down, initiating the feather, and allows the rotation of the oar handle in the fingers. During the recovery, the wrist should be flat. Squaring should be done by a squeeze of the fingers and rotation of the oar handle in the hands. Here we have examples of very good rowing by the Italian, East German, and Swedish squads. They look easy and the boats have a lot of run. They row with good ratio, around 1 to 3. This means recovery or free run is 3 times longer than the drive in the water. All principles from sculling apply to sweep rowing as well. Let's use Phil Stuckel from the 1984 Straight Forward to analyze sweep technique. The first position will be at the middle of the recovery. Notice the stretched arms and natural body reach. At the catch, his shins are vertical, the body forward, both arms are stretched, hands are ready to put the blade in the water. It's very important his left outside shoulder stay high. First part of the drive was initiated by the legs only. Very little change in the body angle, no lift, no opening. Both arms are straight with more pressure taken by the outside left shoulder and arm. Here we have an excellent example of hanging on the oar handle. With good support against the foot stretcher, upper body passes vertical and the arms are still straight. The drive is finished, knees are down, the upper body is in a natural layback position. No slouching, the chest is behind the oar handle, not over it. At this point, we cannot stress enough the importance of having the body angle and the arms stretched and ready. It sets a good start for the rest of the stroke. The gold medal East German pair demonstrates very similar technique. Very tall athletes can afford to use less slide. This means the shins are before vertical. Natural body angle, all groups of muscles are very well connected. By the middle of the drive, we notice good use of the legs, the knee angle is flatter, the body is in vertical, tall position, the arms are straight, maximizing the efficiency of the body swing. At the finish, the whole body maintains a high, tall position with the chest still behind the oar handle. No rush to go out of bow. Another example of natural style is the American silver medal Straight Four. In the approach to the catch, the reach forward is finished, body angle are established, arms are stretched out. After the catch, we notice the seats have moved down a little, no change in body position. Very good hanging and good support against the foot stretchers in the middle of the drive. Swinging upper bodies past the vertical. Arms are still straight. At the release, the blades are already out of the water, but the whole crew is in the layback position, waiting for the hands to lead the motion out of bow. This deliberate patience at the finish gives the boat time to run out. In contrary to what it seems from the outside, the blades are not pulled through the water, but they are locked in the water, and the boat is moved by. For this reason, there are special requirements for efficient blade work. First, steady speed and height of the blade during the recovery. Early squaring, hands are over the ankles. Direct, clean entry into the water. Good depth on the drive, clean release, feather with the blade already over the water. Here we have a few examples of rowing by different crews. Notice the quietness and control of the motion of the boat, as well as a lot of time spent on the slide. Here's the U.S. women's pair, looking very effortless and fluid. Slow slide well synchronized with the speed of the boat. The West German gold medal 8 with a little short stroke, very direct catch, and a lot of rhythm. Here's the Chinese women's 8. Long reach forward, very horizontal drive, and a slow slide. And the young American 8 demonstrating good rowing technique. And now, let's watch some good rowing. Watching bad rowing or boats with many mistakes, the beginning coach usually has this type of reaction: how to correct it and where to start from. The whole process of correction of any sport technique has already been put into steps. Let's follow these steps. Let's be efficient coaches without wasting anyone's time by unnecessary experimentation. In order to be able to make any type of analysis, we must be capable of identifying good execution versus bad execution. Let's have a look at correct blade work. Horizontal recovery, direct clean catch, deep horizontal drive in the water with a clean release. This is very different blade work. The blade is forced deeply into the water, what in effect makes the release very difficult. At the finish, the blade is no longer pushing the boat, but is rather getting stuck in the water. Here are similar mistakes. The blade is too high before the catch, then too deep on the drive. Here's the same skying and digging with a different rower. Here we have an example of an athlete pushing the legs before the entry. The blade never got locked in the water and only scratches the surface. This blade is squared too late, skies a little bit before the catch, and then enters on an angle to the water. We call this missing water. Skying is usually caused by dropping the hands and the outside shoulder directly before the catch. This is a very good example of skying caused by dropping the hands before the catch. Here's what it looks like from the other side. These are examples of missing a lot of water. Look for the hands dropping, blade skying, and body lifting. Look at these catches. They're too hard. They rip the water instead of locking in. These blades are ripping the water also. The shallow white puddles indicate moving the water and not the boat. In contrast, let's have a look at correct blade work. Without any splashes, without big puddles, the blade is locked in the water and moving the boat. There's a clean send of the boat at the finish. These blades are definitely too close to the water level during the recovery. That makes squaring difficult. It starts too late and the blades are never squared. Quick bending arms on the catch changes direction of the blade but does not allow them to go into the water. The first part of the drive is done with the blades only partially in the water. For contrast, let's have a look at correct sculling blade work. Early squaring, good depth in the water, clean release. In this example, because of lack of acceleration during the last part of the drive, the blade suddenly gets deeper and gets stuck in the water. Another example of too late of squaring, missing and chasing the water in order to get resistance on the blade. Here's a very common mistake. The blade is carried too close to the water. It hits the water in the moment of the squaring, causing it to sky upward. Another similar mistake as before. Even from far away, it's quite noticeable that in spite of the effort and hard pulling, this boat is not moving very well. This happened due to the very uniform skying by the whole crew. This creates a check in the boat and a heavy feeling for the rowers. And now at the end, let's memorize this correct blade work. The most efficient way to analyze body position in different phases of the rowing stroke is to follow a simple checklist for the most important angles: knee angle, upper body angle, and the arms position. Let's start from the crucial position in the middle of the recovery. The seat is halfway up and the knee angle is not very sharp, about 120 degrees. The upper body is leaning forward, pivoting from the hips. The arms are already stretched and straight. The reach forward should be already finished. At the catch position, the knee angle is very sharp, the seat is at the top of the slide, and the body angle is not changed. Arms are straight and almost horizontal. Another example of correct body preparation by the middle of the recovery. The knee angle around 120 degrees, the upper body reaching forward, the arms are stretched. At the catch, sharp knee angle, shins close to vertical, no change in the body angle, both arms are stretched. Here's another example of correct body preparation in the U.S. Straight 4. In this picture of the junior paired three-quarter slide, he has correct knee angle, correct body angle, good natural reach. But as he moves to the catch position, we notice that he does not use more slide. The whole upper body collapses to the knee. This does not look like a very strong position. It will put a lot of pressure on his lower back. This is another example of collapsing with the outside shoulder down directly before the catch. This rower doesn't have enough body preparation by half slide. As a result, he dives a little at the catch, and that creates skying, missing, and then hitting the water. Here's another example of poor body preparation. There's not enough body angle before the slide. Also, his inside arm is too stiff. In effect, this will create some overreaching and falling away from the oar at the catch. This is a very similar case of diving and overreaching at the last moment. Here's an example of a very common mistake among our rowers. There is not enough body preparation by middle of the recovery. This will cause several of the following mistakes: overreaching, diving, skying, and missing water. This athlete seems to have quite correct position at the catch. Only some stiffness in the arms and a drop of the outboard shoulder indicates some problems later on. After this series of different mistakes, let's have another look at correct body position before and at the moment of the catch. The correct first part of the drive looks as follows. Knees are down a little, body angle has changed very little or not at all, arms are straight and almost horizontal. All groups of muscles are well connected and the body weight is suspended between the oar handle and the foot stretcher. Very good hanging. Here are the same principles with the same body position applied to sweep rowing. These are two examples of incorrect execution of the first part of the stroke. Even though the legs went down and the seat is at half slide, the blades are still not locked in the water. The body angle is correct, but the arms are already bent. Because of these mistakes, the whole first part of the drive is wasted. In this example, there is a visible lack of hanging and use of the body weight. This novice sculler, except for poor lower back support, demonstrates quite correct hanging on the oar. Here's an elite sculler in the same correct position with good back support. Let's remember what the correct beginning of the sculling stroke looks like. Here's C.B. Sands demonstrating effective use of the leg drive and body weight. Looking at this example of sweep rowing, it seems all angles and positions are correct, but the blade is not in the water yet, making for an ineffective first part of the drive. This junior pair has an ineffective first part of the drive also, but for different reasons. As for the first part of the drive, the knee angle is too flat. This means the legs push the foot stretcher prior to the blade being locked in. This prevents the correct suspension of the upper body on the oar handle. The next three images are examples of mistakes which occurred due to too late of an entry of the blade into the water. The blade barely gets into the water, but the knees are almost down. Upper body still leaning forward. Quick bending of the arms saves a little of the stroke and gets the blade finally in the water. The whole stroke is going to be very short, done by the arms only, and very inefficient. Here's a classic example of shooting the seat. The legs push the foot stretcher before the blade got locked in the water. The upper body is collapsed down to a very weak position. Compare the previous examples to this correct execution of the first part of the drive. With the correct second part of the drive, the blade approaches perpendicular to the boat. There is some knee angle left, which provides good support against the foot stretcher. Upper body swings past verticals, the arms are straight. The major difference between these athletes and the previous picture is in the use of the body weight. There's a visible lack of body swing and suspension. Their whole stroke is done by the bending of the arms without any body swing. Here's another example of too much work being done with the arms early in the drive. Notice there's no body swing. This hunched position and unsupported lower back indicates poor connection and an inability to use the body weight efficiently. This is an example of perfect sweep execution of the second part of the drive. The knees are almost down, upper body in a tall vertical position, the arms are straight, transferring the effect of the body swing directly to the oar handle. This athlete's legs and upper body are in a similar position, but the stiffness on the shoulders and slightly too early bending of the arms diminishes the effect of the body swing. Another example where the legs and the upper body are in the same position as our model, but the premature bending of the arms eliminates the efficient use of the body weight and creates a very different power application. This athlete relies on her arms only, and she works much harder than is necessary. And another example of overusing the arms, which started right after the beginning of the stroke. This eliminates his body swing. And now in the end, look again at correct execution of the second part of the drive. This is excellent use of body swing. At the release, the legs and body finish their work, the hands draw the last inches of the drive and push the oar handle down in front of the stomach. The head and chest are behind the oar handle with no slouching. Our novice sculler has a slouching position at the release, and looking for balance, he makes a very common mistake. He breaks his wrist down, which in effect feathers the blade while they're still in the water. Here we have an example of perfect motion and body position at the finish. Very relaxed upper body, hands pushing the oar handle down without touching the stomach, outside arm level and wrist flat. The next three athletes demonstrate a very different finish and a very different body position. Pulling by the inside arm plus dropping the outside elbow down twists the body away from the oar handle. This uncomfortable body position and lack of acceleration make the oar handle hit the stomach, and in effect, any kind of clean release from the water is almost impossible. This junior rower has a correct motion except for the slouching at the finish. Here's an example of a weak position at the finish. She's slouching and too much layback. Another two examples of not holding pressure on the blade until the release from the water. In effect, the oar handle pushes the athletes into additional layback as well as hits the body. For less skillful rowers, this makes releasing from the water very difficult. Here's another look at a correct finishing position. It's very easy to find overall mistakes in every part of the stroke of this young junior crew. Any attempt to correct a few of them simultaneously would only confuse the athletes. It would have a disastrous effect on their performance as well as their confidence. Instead of that, we have to identify the limiting factor, one crucial area which causes the whole chain of mistakes. In this case, it's a poor recovery, blades are not square before the catch, and the entry does not occur at maximum reach on the end of the recovery. To correct these, we suggest using these simple drills. The placement drill teaches steady, controlled glide of the slide with a uniform motion of the blades over the water, squaring an entry of the blade into the water as the last part of the recovery. Notice the straight arms. The catch and drive drill is an extension of the previous one, with the addition of the drive. Pressure on the foot stretcher should occur after the blade is buried in the water. Here we have another example of a chain of several different mistakes due to poor body preparation during the recovery. By half slide, her arms and upper body are not extended and prepared for the catch. This athlete's shoulders and hands dive directly before the catch, and this puts her in a very weak position. In the meantime, her blade is skying up and her seat slides back. She has to lift her upper body to be able to put the blade into the water. This creates missing the water, and the blade is forced too deep into the water, which creates problems at the release. Rowing with two pauses reinforces correct finish and the sequence of motion out of bow in order to prepare the body angle for the catch. Rowing with one pause is a continuation of the previous drill in a more fluid sequence. There is no additional reaching after the pause, only sliding forward and lifting the hands up to drop the blade into the water. Most mistakes related to the entry of the blade into the water occur during the recovery. Now let's listen to how Harry Parker, Harvard's coach, teaches the catch.
The catch in rowing is a pretty difficult thing to learn and a very important part of good rowing. What's hard for some people to understand is that catch really begins from the finish of the stroke or the beginning of the recovery. It's very hard to take the catch well if you haven't moved into the stern properly and you don't have yourself in a good position to put the blade in properly. So when we talk about teaching the catch, we start at the finish position and emphasize moving out of bow in a smooth and easy motion so that you're in a good position to drop the blade in just as you approach the target. And a good position means the arms well extended, the body swinging forward, the slide moving, and all still moving up to the point you put the blade in. You want them still moving, but under control, so that the only thing you really have to worry about when it comes to the catch is when to drop the blade in the water. And the when comes when you haven't quite gotten all the way up your slide, or all the way over with your body, or all the way fully extended. You're just about there, but you still have some flexibility, and you can just let the blade drop in. And the key is literally to drop the blade in, not to lift it in or drop it in. What you want to do is have the arms extended, the body stretched forward, the slide coming up, and then literally just let the oar drop itself in. It doesn't take any more effort than that. And the key to getting that is to be completely relaxed in the arms and shoulders so that the motion is this motion. It's not this motion, it's not that motion, or grabbing and bending at the elbows. It's literally just letting your arms swing at pivots at the shoulder, and that's true with both hands. You drop it in, and then as you drop it in, you reverse. And in the process of reversal, you want to make sure that you get the blade, once it's in, moving against the water, and to do that really well, you have to use all of the muscle groups, not just one. You can't really catch up to the water very well if you just try rolling your back. Number one, it's not a really strong position, but number two, it's hard to make the back move as quickly as the water is going by the boat. But if as you drop it in, if you contract a little bit in the lats, if you contract a little bit in the lower back, and you begin to push your seat all at the same time, then the three combined will get the blade moving surprisingly without a lot of effort. So you come in nice and relaxed and let it drop, and as soon as you let it drop, everything reverses. Then you not only got the blade in, you got it against the water, but you also got yourself in a really strong position for the drive and the rest of the stroke. Nice and relaxed coming up, letting the blade drop. Initially, put a little bit of backsplash until you get the feeling of dropping the blade in. And then as time goes on, you learn how to initiate the drive so that there's a little less and a little less backsplash. So the blade drops in and it starts to drive with barely any at all. You have to be careful. The roll-up is critical. As people square it, it takes some muscular effort. You have to squeeze the handle a little bit more. It's very easy to get that tension way up in the shoulder, and then it's very hard to get the easy catch. So you want to try to develop the dexterity to square the blade, just using pressure in the fingers and turning the wrist. Don't get the elbow all involved here, or the shoulder. Just the wrist. You square it like so, and the squaring action has got to be a twisting. It can't be a pushing. Because if you push it, you get yourself overextended in the arms, and it's very hard once you're overextended to then make this kind of lift. The proper dropping action can only be done if you're still loose. If you're overextended, you can't do it. So as you square it, you don't want to be pushing down or away. You want to be just twisting. The only motion toward the stern should still be coming just from your body and your slide, not by suddenly reaching. You just want to twist it and drop it.
Placement drill teaches smooth, relaxed, constant recovery, finished by the entry of the blade into the water. We're looking for a steady, uniform motion of the blade from the beginning of the recovery until the entry of the water. All the next drills reinforce the principle that a direct catch is part of the recovery, and the drive, done at whatever pressure, always occurs after the blade is in the water. Square blade rowing teaches the whole blade work with maximum concentration on the direct catch and clean release by eliminating the squaring and feathering of the blade. The next family of mistakes are mistakes related to the middle of the drive. Not using the body weight, lack of hanging, bending the arms too soon, and leaning away from the oar handle. Leg swing with straight arm teaches suspending of the body weight on the oar handle. It eliminates the bending of the arms at the catch and develops good connection between the leg rod and body swing. It also eliminates too early of the bending arms at the end of the stroke. Wide grip square blade eliminates the leaning away from the oar handle by forcing the athlete to predominantly use the outside arm instead of the inside. It forms a correct shoulder angle with the outside shoulder slightly higher than the inside. Most of the finish mistakes, such as slouching, collapsing to the outside, getting hit by the oar handle, and lack of acceleration, can be corrected by a couple of drills. Rowing with two pauses teaches to sit high and tall at the finish, teaches to draw the hands to the body, then push them down. It also teaches the correct sequence out of bow, first the hands, then the body. The pick swing drill develops correct coordination between the body swing and the squeeze of the arms at the finish. But very often we have incorrect execution, as we have here. Too soon with the arms and shrugging the shoulders. If a boat is too fast for the rower's skill, this drill can have a negative effect. In this example, number 7 is bending his arms way too soon, and number 3 is getting stuck in the water. We have to remember that we're not doing drills for the sake of doing drills. They should be alternated with a lot of good, continuous rowing.